بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على المبعوث رحمة للعالمين وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Inshallah, tonight we're going to be talking about a subject. It's very dear to my heart, and it should be dear to everyone's heart. And I hope and pray that by the end of our meeting tonight, that our life will change, and every one of us will start to think about himself or herself as the really actual messenger of the messenger. Now, first we're going to talk about why we are messengers of the messenger. And who is the messenger? And what is the message? And what is our job as Muslims in America to discharge of our job as the messenger of the messenger? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, out of His greatness, He created us human beings in so awesome way, in a marvelous way, that we can think on our own, we can talk, we can communicate, and we can find things. And as a bonus, He gave us the ability to know what is right and the ability to know what is wrong. And He set us straight. Not only that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, خَلَقْنَاهُمْ فِي أَحْسَنِ تَقْوِيمٍ, in the best of shape. When we look at all the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala around us, yes, human beings will stick out and have different look and different attitude toward the rest of the world. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that هو الذي خلق لكم ما في الأرض جميعا. He created everything in this earth for us. But He gave us a job as He gave the job to our forefather Adam alayhi salam. وَإِذْ قَالَ رَبُّكَ لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ إِنِّي جَاعِلٌ فِي الْأَرْضِ خَلِيفَةً. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He created Adam alayhi salam, and He said that He's going to make it to be Khalifa on this earth. Khalifa, you can take it from linguistic or from administration way, that one will follow the other. Or you can take it that we are here, representative of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving us the job to be on this earth, to do what we have to do, to represent that we really believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is a Razzaq, so we have to make sure that everybody on this planet has food. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Al-Ghafoor, so we forgive, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the Adl, the justice and fairness. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. Jazakumullah khair. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He created us in the best of shape. He make us better than the rest of all the creation that He created. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created everything on this earth for us. سَخَّرَ لَكُمْ. Not only just created for us, but He made it to be working for us. And He chose the job that Adam alayhi salam and all his descendants, they will be the one in charge of this planet Earth, to make sure it is good for them and good for generations to come. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the way He created us, He didn't need to send any prophets or messengers of books from the Sama. Why? How many little kids we have here? You go and give the little kid a piece of candy, he will love you. And whenever he sees you, he comes after you. But if you yell at the kids, as many of us yell at the kids in the masjid, they're not going to like you and they run away from the masjid. When you see something bad, you don't touch it. When somebody gives you rotten food, you don't eat it. It's nature. You don't like people to steal from you or to hurt you or to cuss you or whatever, and you like the people who help you. So by nature, we know what is right and what is wrong. And we don't really need any prophets or messengers. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, out of His generosity, out of His mercy. So no one can come on the day of judgment and say, Wallahi, I didn't know. Even Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have taken from Adam alayhi salam and his zurriyyah. Alastu bi rabbikum? Am I not your Lord? Yes, you are our Lord. So every human being is created, he knows that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is his Lord. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Rabb. But nevertheless, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will send messenger after messenger and a prophet after prophet, and He will send the book after book, and finally He will send the seal of the prophets and the messenger, Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And not only that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it upon Himself that He will protect and preserve the Quran. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will enlist thousands, if not millions of scholars that they have spent all their lives to record and to preserve and to authenticate the life of our Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And not only that, because they preserved his life, every moment of his life, even how he went to the bathroom, how he spoke, how he ate, how he drank, and what have you. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He told us, لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ لِمَنْ كَانَ يَرْجُو اللَّهَ وَالْيَوْمَ الْآخِرَ. If you really want me to honor you on the day of judgment, if you really want to be honored on the day of judgment, if you want to be talking to me on the day of judgment, if you want to be in Jannah on the day of judgment, I'm giving you an example that his life is an open book. Believe it or not, everyone on his phone, you can get the life of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and every tafsir of the Quran, you can put it in your phone. So now nobody has any, and in every language you can even imagine that you heard of or you haven't heard of it. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, if you really want to take an example, so you don't tell me at the day of judgment, well, I didn't know how to do this, I didn't know how to do that. No, I'm going to give you a human being like you. And he was going to go through life. Birth, family, he's going to eat, he's going to walk, he's going to work, and he's going to die like every other human being. And his life is going to be your example. And I'm going to have people to make sure that this life has been preserved and it's going to be presented to you in every language that you want. So he will be your example. Now, if I ask this group here and I say 23, what comes to your mind?
Jordan.
Michael Jordan, right? Well, he's because of, but everywhere I go, I ask any people in the masjid, when I say 23, everything, Michael Jordan. I said, what if I say 13 and 10? They said, duh, 13 and 10, that's 23, that's Michael Jordan again. But do we know that 13 and 10 are the life of the Prophet ﷺ in Mecca and Medina? So what happened is, we know and we take every and anyone as a role model, except the one that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants it for us. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, لِمَنْ كَانَ يَرْجُو اللَّهَ وَالْيَوْمَ الْآخِرَ وَذَكَرَ اللَّهَ كَثِيرًا. For those that really want to be honored in this dunya and in the hereafter, this is your example. And everything that you want to know, everything that you want to do, every minute of your life, you're going to make a reference to him and you're going to find the answer and the way and the direction that you want to have. And I have the Quran. And the Rasul ﷺ, before he died, said, I have left among you two things. If you hold fast to them, you will never go astray. The book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and his life and his seerah. And then, of course, many of us, they love Rasul ﷺ. Many of us, they imitate the Rasul ﷺ. But how we love him and how we imitate him and how we follow his examples. Most of us, we follow things which is out of generosity of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he's going to reward us for us. Even when we say sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not only he said, okay, you're going to take 10 hasanat. No, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the angels will offer salah on us. Can you imagine? This is those few verses are coming from the same surah, Surah Al-Ahzab. إِنَّ اللَّهَ وَمَلَائِكَتُهُ يُصَلُّونَ عَلَى النَّبِيِّ يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا صَلُّوا عَلَيْهِ وَسَلِّمُوا تَسْلِيمًا. And before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, هُوَ الَّذِي يُصَلِّي عَلَيْكُمْ وَمَلَائِكَتُهُ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala even offers salah on us and his angels, لِيُخْرِجُكُم مِّنَ الظُّلُمَاتِ إِلَى النُّورِ. And Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said, if you offer salah and salam on me, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will offer salah and salam on me. Now, we take the easy way. It's like this young man live in a tough, rough neighborhood, and everybody in his neighborhood, they have a big tattoo everywhere. And they are munchers. So he wants to be a muncher like them. So he goes to the tattoo shop and he says, I want a big tattoo on my chest. So he said, what do you want? He said, you know something? Why don't you put a lion? Scares people and make me really big muncher. He said, okay, where do you want to start? He said, I want to start with the head. So the guy put the needle, and as soon as he put the needle in his chest, he said, I know it hurts. So what do you want? Maybe start with the leg. He put the leg, it hurts. Everywhere he put the needle, it hurts. He said, what do you want me to do? He said, you have a picture of a lion? He said, yeah. He said, you have a scissor? Yes. You have some glue? Yes. So he cut the picture of the lion and he taped it to his chest. And that's exactly what Muslims are doing today. That's exactly what we're doing. We think we are loving Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. We think that we follow his footsteps. But all we're doing is what? Just eat like him, walk like him, and dress like him. And this is everything we do. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward us generously for it. But what is the one that we have to follow Rasul for? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also, He doesn't want to make us to work hard for it. He gave us the example and how we work like Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the same surah. يا أيها النبي إنا أرسلناك شاهدا ومبشرا ونذيرا وداعيا إلى الله بإذنه وسراجا منيرا. O you prophet, O you messenger, we have sent you to be a witness on mankind. And that witness has to be of the best characters. If you take a witness to the court and he have bad background, the lawyer of the other guys will rip apart and his witnessship is not going to be worth it. So that witness has to be of the greatest character. And the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam was of the greatest character. وَمُبَشِّرًا. You're going to tell everybody about the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You're going to tell everybody about the Jannah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You're going to tell everybody about the forgiveness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You're going to tell Allah that He is the provider, even He provides for the kuffar and the non-kuffar. وَنَذِيرًا. But you're going to also warn them. If you're not going to follow the right path, it's going to be miserable for you in this dunya and in the hereafter. And وَدَاعِيًا إِلَى اللَّهِ. You're going to invite people to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. بِإِذْنِهِ. By His permission. By His way. The way He is. وَسِرَاجًا مُنِيرًا. And you're going to be a Siraj and Munir. The Siraj and Munir is like a planet that illuminates and everybody can see that planet from anywhere in the world. And that was Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. People will see him from anywhere. They have nothing but to admit, even today, when you get any of the researchers and the historians and they talk about the greatest man ever put foot on this planet, Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam will come number one. Now, this is a verse, and you're going to see the second verse, وَبَشِّرِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ بِأَنَّ لَهُم مِّنَ اللَّهِ فَضْلًا كَبِيرًا. Give the good tidings to the believers that they're going to be receiving a great reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For what? For if they follow the footsteps of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, if they follow to be شاهدا ومبشرا ونذيرا وداعيا إلى الله بإذنه وسراجا منيرا. If you follow this, if you're going to be an example and a witness, if you're going to be the one who brings the good news, if you're going to be the warner, if you're going to be the one who invite people to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, like Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and you set yourself to be of a character that everybody can be attracted to, and everybody can see in you what Islam is all about, then you have a great reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But this is not an easy job. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala followed by saying, وَلَا تُطِعِ الْكَافِرِينَ وَالْمُنَافِقِينَ وَدَعْ أَذَاهُمْ. Don't listen to the kuffar. Don't listen to the hypocrites. And yes, they're going to hurt you. Don't worry, I'll take care of it. Why? As Ibn Taymiyyah said, if they kill us, we're shuhada. If they put us in jail, we'll do i'tikaf. And if they deport us, we'll do sightseeing. So it's a win-win situation. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, don't you worry about the kuffar. Don't you worry about the hypocrites. There will be plenty of them stopping you from doing your job. وَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ. Put your trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَكَفَى بِاللَّهِ وَكِيلًا. Now, this is a clear evidence that yes, our job on this planet is to follow the footsteps of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And since Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam passed away and he's not going to come back, then we have to continue the same message that he started. That message is شاهدا ومبشرا ونذيرا وداعيا إلى الله وسراجا منيرا. The difference between us and the Sahaba al-Kiram. Those Sahaba al-Kiram were illiterate. They have no iPhone or foot phone or leg phone or any phone. They have no education. They have no way of transportation. They have no history. They have no culture. They have no civilization whatsoever. But what they have, as soon as they heard La ilaha illallah, Muhammadan Rasulullah, they right there, first, they know exactly what it means. That's why they didn't want to do it. They know, once I accept it, my life is going to be totally according to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and I have to follow Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's why they fought tooth and nail. But those who accept it because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give them this nur, like Abu Bakr Siddiq. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. If it happens in our days that the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam came to us, I guess everybody's going to be rushing to Ghar Hara and spend all their life there. That's how Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam got the revelation. But what happened, Abu Bakr Siddiq? Did he just go there? No. 6 of the 10 Mubashirin bil Jannah came through Islam through Abu Bakr Siddiq. He knew exactly what the job is all about. The job is not going to be just praying and fasting. The job is not only going to say Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah and wear hijab and wear a beard. No, the job is to go and bring the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to every human being in this planet. You see, most of the Sahaba al-Kiram were not buried in Mecca or Medina. Many of them were buried far away from home. Why? Because this is what they understood. And that's why they were a unique generation. They understood Islam. They understood what's La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. Now, why they are different than us? Because they were taught in a different way than us. Believe it or not, every one of us was taught and teaching his kids the first thing, Salah. Ramadan comes, you fast. But did the Rasul ﷺ do that? There was no Salah and there is no fasting for a long time. They have to be connected with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In my own humble view, have we been taught and teaching our kids just the 3 names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? As-Sami' al-Basir al-Alim. As-Sami' al-Basir al-Alim. The one who hears everything, the one who sees everything, and the one who knows everything. If we were taught, we will never do anything wrong. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is hearing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is knowing. I'm going to ask you, I hope everybody finished their food. Everybody finished their food? Is it haram to pick up your nose? Is it haram? Mawlana, it's haram. As a matter of fact, if you don't clean your nose, you may get suffocated. But do it in sit. Oh, did you see this booger? Do we do that? We don't do that. Why? But we do worse than that in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because somehow, some way, we are trained not to do this in front of people. But we can do other things in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We can curse, we can backbite, we can do fahisha, we can do whatever. And even when we remind, oh, Allah Ghafur Rahim. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, مَا لَكُمْ لَا تَرْجُونَ لِلَّهِ وَقَارًا. We give waqar, we give respect to everyone on this planet. You never see somebody speeding when there is a policeman standing there. You never see anybody stealing when the guard is standing in front of the Prophet. You never see anybody going and grabbing something if somebody's watching. But you know, in front of the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and why? We have not been taught that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Sami' Alim Basir. We haven't been taught that everything comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you ask any kid where the food comes from, he said either from Jewel or McDonald's or whatever. Who bring the food? Mama or Baba. But they don't know that's everything coming from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you ask anyone, what is dua you make for your kid? Oh, maybe he's the doctor, maybe goes, maybe. But you see, Maryam radiallahu anha said, you see what dua? قالت ربي إني أعيذها بك وذريتها من الشيطان الرجيم. She knew that yes, the worst challenge she's going to face is the shaitan. If she can defeat the shaitan, everything after that is easy. That's why she said, oh Allah, I want you to protect her and her zuriyah from the shaitan regime. And then when Sayyidina Zakaria comes to Maryam and find out, where did you get this? It's from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Everything from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. إِنَّ اللَّهَ يَرْزُقُ مَنْ يَشَاءُ بِغَيْرِ حِسَابٍ. So here is the situation. Because of we have been brought up in a different way. And we have not brought up the Sahaba Kiram. There is quite a difference between us and them. Although they started by kufr, they were kuffar. They started with no wealth and no culture and no education. But subhanallah, in less than a century, the world was ruled by Muslims. In the year 81 or 82, that's where the Muslims were in Spain. And they ruled the world for 1,000 years. Now we have more than half of the wealth of the world. And in the United States, we have 4 times the income of every American. We have all the technology that we can. We can get everything on this little phone. But what is wrong with us is we have not really set ourselves for the right job. And the right job that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us for is to be the servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the way the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam did his servant to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is shahidan wa mubashiran wa nadhira wa da'in ila Allah bi'idnihi wa sirajan munira. One would say, well, we have to make a living. Yes, you have to make a living. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, قُلْ مَنْ حَرَّمَ زِينَةَ الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا. Mina. Yes, I want us, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I gave you this earth to تستعملوها. I want you to be on the top of technology. I want you to be the richest people on this planet. I want you to be the strongest. I want you to be the smartest. But for what? To do the job. شاهدا ومبشرا ونذيرا وداعيا إلى الله بإذنه وسراجا منيرا. One would say, well, by the time I go home, I don't have time. I have only 5 minutes or 10 minutes or maybe an hour a week. Wallahi, wallahi. This hour, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will put so much barakah in it. It's going to be like a laser beam going anywhere. Unfortunately, the other thing, speaking of barakah, we don't even teach ourselves about the barakah. A friend of mine, he said he was in jail back in the 50s. And he's from Alexandria. And people with him in the cell, they said, when we get out, we'll come and visit you and have seafood dinner. So they went out, they were released from prison in the 60s. So a couple told him that we're going to come and visit you on such and such day. So he went and bought the fish. I'm talking about the 60s, there was no fish and chips, there was no drive-in, drive-through, or order by phone, or order by email, no. He has to go and buy the fish, they have to clean the fish, they have to cook the fish. And he said, wallahi, we sat to eat, the door knocked. Another inmate with his wife were passing through, and they said, let's go and visit our brother. So they come, so they said, Fadalu, yeah, come and eat. And he said, as soon as we sat again, another couple dropped by. So his wife pulled him to the kitchen. She said, we don't have enough food. He said, yeah, but by the time I'm going to go to the market and get, it's going to be tomorrow. Let's eat. He said, wallahi, wallahi, wallahi. We ate as much as we want. And there was food left on the table. We don't understand barakah. We don't teach barakah. We don't even understand Jannah. And we don't teach Jannah. So how could we expect that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give us the same reward as He have given the Sahaba al-Kiram? I went to visit some friend of mine that his family came to visit him from Egypt. It was like 35 years ago. And it looks like they went out shopping and somebody broke into the house and stole many of their things. One of the things, his sister's jewelry. She came with a lot of jewelry. And when I walked into their house, she was crying her heart out. Her eyes were so puffed. It was like a funeral home. That not only one person died, like 100 people died. So why are there? We didn't know what to do. So her brother said, honey, sister, inshallah Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give it back to you. She smiled and her eyes started, when? He said, inshallah, Jannah. She said, in Jannah. In Jannah. We don't believe in Jannah. If somebody tells us about Jannah, we don't believe in Jannah. Let's ask a question. Do we really want to go to Jannah? Who wants to go to Jannah? Raise your arm. Raise your arm. Who wants to go to Jannah? Who wants to go to Jannah? Are you sure you want to go to Jannah? Now, guess how we're going to get to Jannah? How are we going to get to Jannah? By American Airline? Jordanian Airline? United Airline? How are we going to get to Jannah? How are we physically going to get to Jannah? Anybody knows? Guess. Make a wild guess.
By the mercy of Allah.
Well, everything is by the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But physically how? We die. We have to die first. So anyone who's going to go to Jannah has to die. Let me rephrase the question now. Who wants to die?
For the sake of Allah.
For the sake of who wants to die? You see, this is the thing. This is the thing. You remember the older people here, you guys, none of you are older here. There used to be a commercial that a family going to, I think, like Disneyland or whatever, and the kids in the car, and every second they say, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Because if we really want to go to Jannah, do you really think we're going to wait for this food? Yeah, mashallah, it was a great food. Nothing, it's not, that's a great food. But do we really have to wait for this food? Do we really have to wait for anything? Or we just want to go to Jannah? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as He challenged the Yahud, and He challenged the other people, He said, if you are the favorite, as Muslims today claim they are the favorite, and they are the only believer, فَتَمَنَّهُ الْمَوْتِ, then wish to die. وَلَنْ يَتَمَنَّهُ أَبَدًا بِمَا فَعَلَ. So here is the situation. We are in the best situation that Muslims ever been through history. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed us with wealth. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed us with knowledge. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed us still in the United States with the freedom of speech. We still have the freedom of speech. And you know, on the top of that, the American community at large are dying for something like Islam to come to save them and to save the country. Every woman that has lost a son or a daughter because of overdose of cocaine or drugs or whatever, if she hears about Islam, she's going to become Muslim right away. Many times I perform wedding, when I talk about the relation between a man and a woman and the rights of man and woman, and there is non-Muslims there, many women will come, they say, we want to marry according to Islam. Every family that they lost a kid because he joined a gang or whatever, if they know about Islam, they're going to come flocking into Islam. If you look at the Constitution of the United States and the 10 Amendments of this, I had my doubt that it was taken from the Quran. And that was clear when Brother Keith from Minnesota took the oath. They call it the Quran of Jefferson. President Jefferson, he had a copy of the Quran. As a matter of fact, he got somebody to give him the best translation for the Quran. Because it's natural, it's fitrah, it's basics. Anyone who wants to look for the best thing in the life, in this life and the hereafter, has to find it in the Quran. It is in the Quran. مَا فَرَّطْنَا فِي الْكِتَابِ مِنْ شَيْءٍ. We have not left anything out of this Quran. There was a scholar from Egypt, I forgot what his name. He went to France back in the 20s of last century. And he was giving a big lecture about Islam in a big hotel. And one of the Orientalists, they tried to find out loops, but there is no loops and hoops in the Quran. So he said, you say that there is everything in the Quran. He said, yes. He said, okay, how many loaves of bread can you bake out of 100 pounds of flour? So he called, he said, if there is a baker in the hotel, yes, he brought the head baker, asked him, how many loaves of bread can you bake? He told him the answer. So that Orientalist, he said, no, I want you to tell me. He said, yeah, it's from the Quran. وَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. Ask the expert if you don't know. So there is nothing that is going to be in our life that we need it for our life, and the hereafter is not in the Quran. Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, الْيَوْمَ أَكْمَلْتُ لَكُمْ دِينَكُمْ وَأَتْمَمْتُ عَلَيْكُمْ نِعْمَتِي وَرَضِيتُ لَكُمْ الْإِسْلَامَ دِينًا. Today, I completed and perfected, and I love this for you. And when the Sahaba Kiram follow it, they became the leaders of the world. And they became what? It's over 1400 years, and every time we mention their name, What do we say? Radiallahu anhum. Radiallahu anhum. So we have an opportunity tonight to change our life from being just engineers and whatever we are and doing in life. Is yes, we're going to use what we are doing in life so we can be the messengers of the message. Because believe it or not, by saying La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, automatically I'm saying there is no God but Allah. My life is going to be according to Quran and Sunnah, and I'm going to follow the footsteps of our Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and I'm going to be his messenger. Why? Our Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam died and he's not coming back. And the only time we're going to see him, we're going to see him on the Sirat al-Mustaqim. And the only time we're going to ask him for Shafa'ah. And what are we going to tell him? What are we going to tell him? Oh, we said you used to say Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. He said, okay. We kept you alive. We give you food and water. We give you good meals. We give you cars. We give you this. So what do you want? No, you want Jannah. No, Jannah. Jannah. It's neat work. And you know something? This is the greatest thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. يهديهم بإيمانهم. All we have to do is just put our foot on the road. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to drag us there. He's going to take us by the hand. He's going to show us. He's going to make everything. يجعل لهم نورا, not only نورا, so they can walk. يمشون به في الناس. في الناس. Inside, you're going to see inside people. Not just seeing your road around. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala هو الذي يصلي عليكم وملائكته ليخرجكم من الظلمات إلى النور. What is ظلمات and what is nur? What is darkness and light? Darkness is the thing that hurts us. When we are in the dark, if you turn the lights off here and you try to get out of this room, either you're going to hurt yourself or you're going to break a table or you're going to mess up something. But once the light is on, I'm going to see my way, I'm going to be safe. Going to wherever I want to go safely in the best way. This is what ظلمات and nur. That's what the jihad. The jihad is not that I know computer or no. That I ignorant of who I am, what is my job, and where I'm going to go, and how am I going to get there. This is the actual ignorance. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala called Jahiliyyah, Jahiliyyah is not that I am a doctor. Yeah, there is people with zillions PhDs and knowledge about outer space, inner space, outer space, everywhere. But the thing of this, they live like animals. They don't even know why they are here, what is their job, who brought them here, what's going to happen there. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you have two obligatory beliefs. Al-Iman al-Qahri. That nobody can escape it. Birth and death. Birth and death. Nobody can escape it. But do we really believe in that? Do people around us believe in that? We have a job to do, and we can start as little as we can. And the best job to do it is to be an example for Muslims. Live ourselves, live our life as Muslimin. I start by myself. The only one I can change is myself. But by changing myself, I can change the world. Almost 30 years ago, I was in a plane going from London somewhere to the Middle East. And as soon as I get there, I just pull my Quran and start reading. And there was an Arab sitting next to me. We said salam, and he went to sleep or whatever. After 6 hours, we're getting off. He said, Jazakallah khair. I said, what? What did I do? He said, I was planning to drink liquor. But when I saw you reading the Quran, I felt ashamed to do it in front of the Quran. We don't really know the power of little things. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can magnify them million times over. When we working for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we working for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We're not working for anybody else. We're working for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who can by kun fayakun will make everything happen. By kun fayakun he can destroy those worlds over. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, He loves for us to be believers. And He is making everything for us to be believers. And He's helping us to be believers. He gave us the brain to find out. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَنَفْسٍ وَمَا سَوَّاهَا فَأَلْهَمَهَا فُجُورَهَا وَتَقْوَاهَا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us in a way that we can distinguish between the good and the bad. The right and the wrong. But all we have to do it. But when we look at the people in America, they came with nothing. Most of us. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ta'ala blesses us with everything. Why? Because we put our mind, I'm going to be a doctor, I'm going to be an engineer, I'm going to get this degree, I'm going to get this car, I'm going to do this. So what about if I'm going to say from now on, I want to get Jannah? And not only in Jannah, I want to be in the Firdaus al-A'la. Here is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put it in the most beautiful way. Surah Al-Zumar. وَسِيقَ الَّذِينَ اتَّقَوْا رَبَّهُمْ إِلَى الْجَنَّةِ زُمُرًا. Those who have feared Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Those who have come together for gathering like this. Those who came together for Fajr prayer. Those who came together for Isha prayer. Those who went out of their way to help others. Those who really remembered Allah and remembered the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Those who had part of their wealth is for others. Part of their day is for others. حتى إذا جاءوها وفتحت أبوابها, till they come to the doors of Jannah. And here is the angels ushering them to the Jannah and the door of Jannah. And وقال لهم خزنتها سلام عليكم طبتم اليوم فادخلوها خالدين. Now you got the results of your work. Now you're going to be in good hands. Now you're going to be honored. Now it is here, you are standing in front of Jannah and you're going to enter Jannah. And you know what the muttaqeen is going to say? Alhamdulillah alladhi sadaqana wa'ada. Thank God that He promised us, and whatever He promised us is the truth. Thank God that He told us He's going to go to Jannah and we can see Jannah. But here is the catch. Here is the key thing that we really have to think about it, and we start dreaming about it and sleeping with it and waking up with it. He said, الَّذِي أَوْرَثَنَا الْأَرْضِ. He gave us an opportunity on this earth. He gave us a house, we take care of the household, 5 kids. He gave us a masjid, so we can take care of the masjid. He gave us a job, He gave us an opportunity, He gave us a car. نَتَبَوَّأُ مِنَ الْجَنَّةِ حَيْثُ نَشَاءُ. This is walking in the best place in Jannah and looking around, and I'm looking. What do you think I'm going to look for in Jannah? If I get the choice on the day of judgment to be anywhere in Jannah, where do you think you're going to be? Where are you going to be? Where do you want to pick? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for those people that they have taken care of the responsibility as the messenger of the messenger on this earth, those people who have taken the responsibility for whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala assigned to them, they're going to want. And look, of course I'm going to look for the Al-Firdaus al-A'la. Of course I'm going to look for where Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam is living. Of course I want to be next door to him. Of course I want to talk to him. Of course I want to eat with him. Of course I'm going to be around him all the time. And we have this opportunity to pick and choose our place in Jannah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have a place for everyone in Jannah, everywhere. All we have to do is make our mind. As we made our mind to come to America, as we made our mind to become doctors or engineers or whatever, as we made our mind to have a house or whatever, then we can put our mind to it. And you know what? When we were trying to get a degree, we have a Jewish professor, we have a hardship because we didn't have the money to go to the school, we didn't have a way to go to the school, we have hardship to get a house and to make ends meet. But when we work for Allah and we want to go to Jannah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make it easy for us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will pave the road for us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will enslave every creature in this world to work for us. All we have to do is make the niyyah. Let's make the niyyah, brothers. Let's make the niyyah. Are we making the niyyah? Who are we now? Who are we? Who are we? Who are we? We are the messengers of the messenger. I want everybody to say, who are we? Who are we? I can't hear you. We are the messenger of the messenger. Who are we? Who are we? I can't hear you. Who are we? Who are we? Who are we? Wake up, brother. Who are we? We make an oath to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that our life from now on, we're going to be the messenger of the messenger. We're going to know about the messenger, his life, and we're going to imitate him in his life. Wherever we are, a man, and the men in particular, when you go home and there is no food, don't yell. When you go home and the food is burned, don't yell. Do what the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam said. Nawaitu siyam. When you go home and there is work to be done, do it. Every man in particular. I know most men, somehow, some way, they are constipated all the time. They go home constipated. Take a laxative. And when you go home, have a smile on your face. That's what Rasul ﷺ taught us. When there is work to be done around the house, do it. Smile in each other's face. Smile in each other's face. When you come to the masjid, make sure that every little kid consider him or consider her to be your own kid. This way, these kids is going to love the masjid and they love to come to the masjid all the time. Make sure that some of you come with a piece of candy or whatever. Maybe all of you can contribute and have a bag of candy here so every kid can come. You know, this is something we don't even realize, that those kids, any kid who comes to the masjid, you look to him as an angel. As an angel. He comes to the masjid, or she comes to the masjid and let everything out around the house and the toys and what have you. So we really have, you just go and hug them, go and kiss them, go and tickle them, go and get to know their name. And it can go on and on and on. Our neighbor, this is the big thing. This is the big thing. On Jum'ah prayer, smiling each other's face. Oh, let's practice. Let's practice. Turn right and left and smile in each other's face. Please, turn right and left and smile in each other's face. It just bugs me that they go to a masjid on Jum'ah prayer and people walk around. Man, this is a masjid. I blocked their way. And they go this way. I blocked their way. And I said, fine, are you a Muslim? Yeah, I'm a Muslim too. Why don't you say salam alaikum to me? Salam alaikum. And then not only that, they give you a hand like this. They're afraid to give you their hand to shake hands. Now, Rasul ﷺ said, when you shake hands with each other, your sins will fall off. Let's shake hands with each other. Let's shake hands with each other. You are perfect? MashaAllah. Shake hands with each other. Sisters, shake hands with each other. Sisters, shake hands with each other. Shake hands with each other. Shake hands with each other. I know you are a very intelligent community, so you can do two things at the same time. We can smile and shake hands at the same time. Let's smile and shake hands at the same time. Smile and shake hands at the same time. Smile and shake hands at the same time. In conclusion, since we all want to go to Jannah, our Rasul ﷺ said, لَن تَدْخُلُوا الْجَنَّةَ حَتَّى تُؤْمِنُوا. You're not going to enter Jannah till you believe. And you're not going to be able to call yourself a believer till you love each other. So I want everybody to turn around and say, I love you for Allah. I love you for Allah. I love you for Allah. Hey brother, you love me for Allah? I love you only for Allah. جزاكم الله خير وبارك الله فيكم. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إن الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. جزاكم الله خير وبارك الله فيكم والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.